Hey everyone, I just wanted to make a quick video on Stellarblade and a really awesome build that I've come up with that functionally transitions from regular game to new game plus hard mode nice and streamlined. You can get started on this build really early, you don't have to wait for a lot of end game parts in order to start stacking it up. But the exospines we're going to use are going to be the burst trance type exospine and the chain type exospine here. The general premise of this build is to maximize making the benefits of combos and stacking them and layering them on top of each other so that all of these different parts are going to synergize. So we'll just go in order here. For the burst trance, one thing that I didn't want to do with this build is have to constantly switch to the camouflage exospine in order to get my health back anytime I took wounds. So there's a big focus on this build in trying to get back burst energy so that we can use one of the burst attacks that allows us to essentially lifesteal as long as the enemy types aren't too fragile. So the Tempest here. The main perk here that we're looking for is the lifesteal perk here. So this will be a great way to be getting back energy, like your life points, rather than having to swap the exospine. The nice thing about that attack is also that you're invincible during activation, so it can basically be like an emergency bailout button if an attack's coming and you're missing health, you want to get lifesteal, you don't have to worry about getting space to use it. You just activate it and you go into an invincibility frame. Another nice thing about the burst trance, and one of the first synergies here, is going to be the recharge burst energy whenever combo attacks at level 4 or above are used. So you're going to want to memorize all the different combos that are 4 attacks or larger. They're all good, but there are times when you want to use the 4 attack one just to get the burst energy back quickly because the enemies attack a little bit too fast and might interrupt you before you get to the 5th one. But anyways, the point is just to memorize all of them. The chain type exospine here is going to reward us for getting higher combos, so the more attacks you can get in sequence, the better. The crit damage is also really nice, and increasing the crit rate of hitting a level 4 attack also gets an even higher bonus. So again, being able to hit that 4 attacks mark is doubly synergizing here. Both of these are benefiting if we can make that happen. In terms of the gear, we're going to be going for attack speed. I had a dilemma here choosing between this and the double edge, which basically makes me take more damage, but I do more damage. The reason I went with this one is that it indirectly acts as also reducing damage because you're less likely to take hits and you're able to get those 4 attack combos against more types of enemies. So not only is it increasing our damage, but it also is helping us defensively and lets us hit that 4 combo attack more often, which I found more valuable than the little bit more damage and the downside of taking more damage. On that note, fixed damage. So this one is just a flat benefit. The more attacks you're doing, the more this benefits you. So if I was only hitting them once with one big powerful attack, this would be less efficient, but it synergizes with combo attempts because I get to apply this bonus fixed damage. If I'm hitting an enemy 4 times, it applies as of the second hit, so I'm getting 3 instances of this. Obviously, combo attack gear, that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think I need to highlight why that synergizes. Now, this one's interesting. So burst recovery gear. What this is going to do is if I am taking hits, it's giving me burst energy back, which is going to allow me to lifesteal sooner. Now, you can't solely rely on this. You still need to evade, but this will make it so that you can get a lot of burst energy back in boss fights without having to make evasions every time. And this also synergizes really well with the increased max burst energy by 600. So having a bigger pool means that this is going to be contributing to like a bigger pool of burst energy, and I'll be able to actually use not only the lifesteal hit, but we'll get to the skills now and talk a little bit about why having a big burst energy pool also is useful. Okay, talking about the skill trees now. So this perk is very important here. So strengthens the last blow of some combo attacks. You can hold to do a much more powerful attack at the end of a combo, and you're going to be using this a lot. Now note it does take 1 beta energy. However, it does recharge burst energy. So this perk has the effect of converting burst energy, or sorry, beta energy into burst energy while also getting massive damage, synergizing with her combos. So using this whenever you can, assuming that you're not going to get staggered in your combo based on the enemy type, but you do want to try to make a big focus on landing these charged attacks. And also, this is going to encourage you to use your burst energy frequently. And that's one thing about this build that's really nice is you're actually encouraged to aggressively use your burst energy because you're getting it back so fast. Let's move over to the burst attacks here really quick. Actually, we'll talk about the beta first here. So all beta attacks are useful, and you will end up leveling out everything sooner or later. But just talking about which ones to focus on first, the Shield Breaker and the Triplet are going to be your main ones, with a secondary sort of minor focus on the Slash here, just so you have an AoE attack. But we've already got a really good AoE attack with our burst energy. The reason being is that we don't want to have to use shield breaking gear, and so having this is a great way to start softening up bosses and knocking down that shield of theirs early so that we can start doing true damage to their health. You also, by the way, are going to have another way of ripping shields with the burst energy too, so we'll come back to that in a second here. Triplet is mainly just used as your quick interrupt high damage against a solo target, so this is really good for interrupting attacks that are hard to evade against bosses. But mainly once we've stripped the shields, that's when we'll kind of transition using this. But again, don't forget that combos also take beta energy, so we will be sort of splitting the difference and using some of that beta energy for our combos and then some for those attacks here. Okay, so with Burst, Tempest is our main ability here with a secondary focus on this one here, Overdrive. So what I tend to do is I like to have a minimum of 4 burst energy so that I have a quick way of getting life back. If I'm doing really well and I haven't taken damage and I'm starting to take advantage of that higher burst pool and I'm getting burst energy built up more than I'm going to need just for Tempest, then I'll also activate Overdrive, which makes your melee attacks more powerful and also faster, which is going to synergize with our combos. So this is going to allow us to make even more use of all those perks in our equipment trees, in our equipment set that benefits from combos. But in general, if you can hit 7 burst energy, then I'll activate this, and that still leaves me my Tempest on standby with if in case I take a big hit and I need to life steal back something. Taki, this is basically just going to be used like as a finisher for bosses. Once we get them to a point where they're in like at enough health that I can finish off their entire bar, I'll finish the fight with Taki, where I'm basically invincible by just using the that whirlwind lunge here. This one here, Blade Flurry. You can just spam this, and they can't realistically fight back because they're mini stunned the whole time. So that's the general synergy. I'll just send some clips now, and we'll take a look at all of the different enemy types and see how like this build really synergizes well. It has its own life steal. It's got great shield stripping. All of the parts are contributing to the other parts in a synergistic way. So I wanted to give a more of a general tip. This applies to almost every build, but it's particularly useful of a good skill to have when you're not running the camouflage exospine, which is how to prioritize your healing options. So recharge tumblers might seem like your best ones to use just because you refill them for free at campfires or whatever you want to call them. But the downside is every time you want to refill these, you have to reset the world, so you have to like go re-kill all the enemies again, and if you want to explore that area for any like loot that you've lost. So trying to avoid using these is kind of the goal of the build, and then to rely on these heals instead to complement your ability to lifesteal with that burst attack as like the primary way of healing. You could always swap out the exospine for the camouflage temporarily. I just don't like doing that. I wanted a build that I could just leave as is and just play through the game, which is also really fun when you don't know when boss fights are going to be coming up if it's your first playthrough. It's nice to not be caught using that exospine by accident during a boss fight. So the biotic field generator is going to be your post fights. You can't really use it in the middle of a fight, but if you've survived a fight and you're missing a lot of health, you use this to recharge completely. Now it is going to require you to hold still, and you only get 2 of them, so you want to use these as more of like an emergency heal. The Lingering Potion is somewhere between this and can also be used in the middle of a fight, but it's a little more risky to use it in the middle of a fight because usually when you need a heal, it's because you're out of burst energy and you're missing enough health that it's starting to make you worried about trying to build up that burst energy before taking another hit. So it can be used in the middle of a fight, but it's like less efficient. In general, I would use this after fights when I'm missing more than, I'd say, half my health, because a good burst attack, you can just run into a group and do the circles, R1 circle slash there, Tempest, to get usually like 25% of your health back, if not more, if they're all strong enemies. So usually I'll use this if I'm missing half health. The highly concentrated potions, these are going to be the ones that you usually keep on hotkey when you first enter a fight but aren't missing any health, and it's going to replace the recharge tumblers loosely, but yeah, that'll be like your burst heal when you need it. Now, if we can survive getting from camp to camp without using the recharge tumblers, that means I can restock these and not reset the world, and I'll have all of my recharge tumblers available when I get into a boss fight that I don't expect. So that's generally how you want to use these heals, and then use them to complement the burst attack, life stealing, and doing the majority of your healing work for you. So I'm just in the middle of my playthrough on New Games Plus, so I wanted to show like how strong your combos are against, like, for example, enemies like this larger one here in the Wastelands. You can just outright kill them, which is pretty nice. Be careful with more fragile enemies. If they don't survive into the last hit of the R1 circle attack, you're not going to get any heals. So here's just an example of showing that. You can still use it just to clear though, because you get so much burst energy, but just be aware. Okay, we'll jump into some boss fights now. So again, I'm going to start off with the shield breaker, trying to just get that shield down to 0 before I start going into my burst attacks. Keep in mind though that the burst Tempest, so the R1 circle attack, also is really good at stripping shields. So you can also use that. I do like to keep an emergency amount of burst energy, like 4 burst energy, just in case I take a hit though. So I try not to spend that. If you're doing really well against the boss, then feel free to activate the overdrive just to get even stronger combos. But that's the general strategy. Blend burst attack, Tempest, and shield breaker until you strip the shield. Then you can transition into combos, as well as more, hopefully overdrive if you can get it, but if not, that's fine. You can weave in as you build up beta energy as well to do those the triplet attack for more damage, and then I usually try to save the top key for the finisher, just that way if I wasted it too early in the fight, I might not have it ready to finish them off when I could have otherwise.